friends, Josh Steffler here, and today I want to talk about fundamental freedoms, the right to free speech, the right to free expression, and Esquimalt Town Council. Recently, as you've seen on the news, our City Hall seems to hate the Bong Warehouse and their mascot, Bongie. He was recently on a television show in the United States, and they just made so much fun of us for trying to regulate the use of these mascots. Now, recently, Esquimalt has put forth a request for decision on a new bylaw that is for the regulation of costumed mascots in public places. And in their request for decision, they note that relevant policies is the Community Charter and the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. Now, they seem to forget that there is a Canadian Bill of Rights, and I would argue that had they included the relevant policy of the Canadian Bill of Rights, that this bylaw would not stand a chance, and they would have actually realized that and given up before even starting. Because this is censorship, this is a bylaw that restricts freedoms for no reason other than morality. City Hall feels that they're morals and they're there to protect you from what you see and put limits on people's expression and put limits on people's right to free speech to keep you safe. Now, the bylaw itself is called Bylaw number 2819, a bylaw for the regulation of costumed mascots in public places. And of course, it's just for public safety. You know, what about the children? What if somebody uses a mascot that somebody doesn't like? Oh, we need permits. Thankfully, we've got a brave city council that's going to stamp out free speech and stamp out free expression, all in the name of public safety. Now, these permits are going to be given out by the director. Now, the director in this bylaw is defined as the Director of Community Safety Services, the Deputy Director, and his or her delegates. So never mind the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, never mind the Canadian Bill of Rights, City Hall in Esquimalt is going to protect you from dangerous mascots. Now, they didn't want to stop everybody from using mascots, and to show that this is a totally discriminatory bylaw, let's just look at the application. Now, the application of the bylaw is applied to all business activities within the municipality, and Part 4 of the bylaw does not states the exemptions. So this bylaw does not apply to costumed mascots participating in the following activities. Oh, that's so nice. They're going to let you have a little bit of freedom. A, community and public celebrations, events, or parades, where such events are sanctioned and promoted by the municipality. So it's okay to wear a mascot in something that City Hall is promoting. They don't want to stop City Hall from using their mascots. This bylaw does not apply to fundraising in support of registered charities. So they don't want to piss off and infringe on the rights of free speech and free expression on charities, because then they'd look like dicks. Then it also doesn't apply to sporting events sponsored or promoted by a school or organized sporting association. So again, governments are allowed to, they don't want to limit the free speech of students and sports teams, so, you know, those businesses, sports teams, and schools are allowed to have their mascots. They're not businesses. I misspoke. But the schools are allowed to keep their mascots. So children are allowed their free speech, and the schools are allowed to promote themselves. And finally, school events sponsored or promoted by a school. So again, schools are exempt. It looks very specific and very targeted towards certain businesses. And it's all because the morality police have come to town. Now, the Canadian Bill of Rights, first section is that they recognize the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, and enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived thereof except by due process of law. The second part is the right of the individual to equality before the law and protection of the law. So keep that in mind. This is a business guy running a business. He's entitled to these protections. Now, City Hall wants to enact this bylaw, and they didn't want to put it to everyone. Recently in the news, one of the city council members said that it's not going to apply to 99% of the people that are already using mascots. So right there he admits, or she admits, I'm not going to say which councillor it was, admits that this is discriminatory in nature. That they know that this is discriminatory. It's only going to apply to a very small amount of people. Like, that's supposed to be okay, that it's okay to enact restrictions and take away the fundamental liberties of 1% of the people in Esquimalt. So, as you can see, there is a wide swath of people that this bylaw does not apply. Well, if you look at the Canadian Bill of Rights, Section 1B, right at the beginning, it says that the right of the individual to equality before the law. If there are exemptions to the law, that is not equality. Why does City Council feel that they're entitled to use their mascots, and sports teams and schools are entitled to use their mascots, and registered charities are allowed to use their mascots, but businesses are not allowed to use their mascots? This is morality police trying to stop one business from using one mascot. This is all about Bongi. Don't let them try and tell you that it's not. Now, I would urge you, if you value free speech, if you value the protection of our fundamental rights and freedoms and liberties in this country, that you will contact Esquimalt Municipal Council and tell them that you do not agree with this bylaw. There's a month until they decide to do the third reading of this bylaw. This is pure discrimination, and if you are an Esquimalt resident, whether you agree or disagree with the Bongi character, what this does is it puts us as Esquimalt taxpayers on the hook for anybody that decides to sue the municipality for a violation of their fundamental rights and freedoms in this country. If Esquimalt gets sued, it's not the city councillors that have to pay. You have to pay. Your property taxes are what's going to pay for that fine if they're found guilty. Which obviously, from my view, it looks like it cannot stand up at all. This is immoral, to try and use the municipality to censor and control mascots. It is inane, it's unwelcome. I do not want this, and I do not consent to this bylaw. Let me be clear. And it's not that I support Bongi or that I don't support Bongi, but what I do support is that person's right to free speech, to try and communicate, and to try and earn a living and bring business to Esquimalt, because this sends the message, again, that Esquimalt is not open for business, that we don't want your business unless it applies to City Council's morality, City Council's views on what's appropriate and what's not appropriate. Now, also, the permits are only going to be issued by a few people, and now you can beg City Council to make an exemption for you, but the permits themselves have Section 7, the limitation on use of costumed mascots, that no permit shall be issued for the use of a costumed mascot in any public space except in limited circumstances, and such a permit for a limited duration, dates, times, frequency, and locations. What does that even mean? The limited circumstances is wide open to interpretation. City Council, you know that this is wrong. And I understand that you don't like the one business in town. Do not trample on the rights and the freedoms of people in Esquimalt to push your morality onto us. This is wrong. If you're concerned, I will put the City Council contact information in the box below. I would urge you to contact these people and tell them don't do this, that you do not support this. Because it is a very vocal minority of people that are using this law to bully and harass one business. One business. It's wrong. Esquimalt is complaining about getting bullied over the sewage issue from the CRD, and yet we're going to turn right around and let our city council bully one man out of this place. So now he has to scramble to try and feed his wife and children and provide a job for himself and for a few other people in Esquimalt. This is Josh Steffler. Find me online, freedomfreeforall.com. We are changevictoria.org. Be safe and be free.